Hey, and welcome to the Vergecast for the week of October 15th, 2012. I'm Josh Topolsky.
I'm Paul Miller.
I'm Nilay Patel.
And we're back together again, the core group of Vergecasters.
For the very first time.
Back again for the very first time, just like you remember us from the future in a dream.
Apparently, I'm a Cleveland Browns fan.
We're here to discuss the week
Very disturbing.
in technology news, technology culture, and functified happenings.
And sports.
And sports. This is, nothing's happening this week or next week, and so we have very little to talk about.
Well, some stuff happened this week.
But we're excited to be here. We're just happy to be here. What's going on with this right here?
Don't take anything for granted.
You know what? In this life and in the next,
There's no guarantees.
there are no guarantees. So you got to live every day. You got to dance like no one's watching, sing like no one's listening, and Vergecast like no one's listening or watching.
Or singing or dancing.
Vergecast like no one's singing.
Like no one's singing. And I think that's lessons to live by. Life lessons.
Yeah. Wait, Paul, is your mic on? You should say some stuff.
He sounds quiet.
Hello?
The
Hello?
chat
There he is.
people are concerned about
He's
the
on
state
now.
of Paul's
Hello?
mic. Yeah.
Hello?
It may upset you to learn that we've disabled Paul's microphone due to his lack of understanding of weekly events. He's with us, but only to
Can I say that I have
express.
no idea what's been happening this week?
You know what's funny is that the nature of our topic list today is that you're going to be fine.
You're gonna be just great.
Yeah, it doesn't. There's
You know,
a lot
we
of.
believe in you, Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
Thank
gonna
you.
get through this.
You're going to know what's happening.
You're gonna get through this, and when it's finished, you're gonna look back and say that made me a better man.
Yeah.
No.
You want to get started?
Man animal, as you would be referred to by the aliens.
An animal?
A man animal, as you'd be referred to by the aliens in Battlefield Earth.
Oh, is that I never watched that.
Oh, it's so good.
I watched like the start of it.
Oh, you should watch all of it.
Yeah, I should.
Battlefield Earth is a great film.
Do you have that on Blu-ray
Yes.
or HD DVD?
Both.
Right.
Yes.
Actually?
All right, let's talk. No, I don't.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
But I can acquire it for you.
Because let me tell you, it's really expensive when every time you want to watch a movie, you have to spend $30 to
Do
buy
the
a
words
Blu-ray.
do the words rental mean anything to you? That's one word.
Yeah,
Does the word rental
Does the
mean
word
anything to you?
blockbuster mean anything to you in the terms of like a company like that doesn't succeed and have storefronts?
You think that's
anymore?
I'm sorry, you think that's you live in New York, you think Blockbuster is the only place you can rent a movie?
What are I going to go to? Two Boots?
I mean, that's
Isn't
a pizza
Two Boots- yeah,
place.
pizza place?
Yeah, but they also rent DVD. The East Village. Two
Well,
Boots.
yes, then I would expect you to go to Two Boots where they rent DVDs.
But I want a Blu-rays.
Well, then you should find a place that rents Blu-rays. This is New York. You don't think there's a place where that rents
There's
Blu-rays?
a Blockbuster box. Well,
I don't know why you're talking about
Tell me where.
Is this Spokane, Washington?
What?
Spokane?
If
Is that
I
where
go
you
to a
think you live?
Blockbuster
Where you,
box
where,
at
what
the
part of
Dwayne
Washington
Reed,
are you
they
from?
have one Blu-ray for rental.
Fredericksburg, Washington.
Hunger Games.
Hunger Games,
And I already
Washington. I
said-
don't think it's an actual area. What part of Washington are you from?
Eastern Washington, the
You know,
Tri-Cities.
there's a name. What is it called?
Kennewick, Washington.
Kennewick. This is not Kennewick, my man. This is New York
Kennewick
City.
had tons of places. You could go to Hastings. You could go to
little
what was
Hastings
it,
video.
like,
Yeah, I'd like to see you rent a Blu-ray in
Mike's-
Kennewick
Mike's-
right now.
I rented Blu-rays
Mike's Video?
in Racine. It's like a
Racine
place.
is a hellhole, and so is Kennewick. Moving on.
It's true.
Let's talk about.
You got a lot of really.
You know what? If I don't say it
I
now,
don't, this
when will
East
I
Coast
say it?
bias over here is.
I'm from
not-
Pittsburgh. I mean, go ahead. What do you got?
All right. So there's a lot going on at the end of October.
I had noticed.
There is actually so much happening at the end of October that we've been having weekly planning calls to make sure everybody's ready for what's happening in the next couple weeks.
I mean, I know it's not these. I know these companies don't. They're not sitting around worried about us.
Yeah.
But maybe they should stop and spend at least a little bit of time worrying.
They should worry about each other.
We're
'cause
only human,
they're
flesh and blood.
they're doing this thing, and what I think is particularly interesting is Google and Microsoft seem to be they're in love with going head to head.
Oh, and Apple.
No, so do you remember it was the Nokia did their Windows Phone event on the same day that Google and Motorola did an event like in September?
Yes.
That's happening again.
Yes.
Now in
Well,
so Microsoft is doing its Windows Phone stuff.
Windows Phone
Windows Phone 8
on the 29th.
the 29th.
And Google is doing an Android event
on the 29th.
And their invitation is the playground is open.
Yeah. The playground, and it looks like Google now.
Oh yeah. Hey, do you think
They
it's
said
a
the
gaming?
28th
Do you
or
think
the
it'll be a
29th?
gaming thing?
No, the Playground is Open is their that's their Nexus 7 tagline.
I don't think it is.
That's what they've been using in the
Wait,
Nexus 7
isn't
ads.
Play like the Play Store? Is that a riff on the Play Store?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, I guess
it's
it
a riff
is.
on the
Yeah,
Play Store.
yeah.
So the ads with like the adorable children, the girl in the spaceman helmet, that says the Playground is open.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So I mean that's their tagline. It's obviously some sort of Nexus related announcement. But
We have to assume that at the end of October, this is bothering me. What is that? This little like flip. I'm getting wings. We have to assume what is going on at the end of October. I'm very upset about my hair right now.
Yeah.
Sorry, people
should be.
who are just listening to this. That it's going to be a Nexus event. Yeah, I mean, we've seen some leaks. Maybe it's this LG Nexus 4 or whatever they're calling it.
which now is being leaked. The site has now like done a fake review of it.
Yeah. A
it's-
Russian
it's-
site did a review of it already. I mean, they're so we supposedly that's the device. We don't know for sure. But
LG is back.
LG's
Yeah.
back, and it doesn't have a Super AMOLED display.
But no,
which
so
is
now
really
there's
great.
we've been seeing a Sony one.
Well, the Sony one we don't know. The
Nexus X.
the picture was highly suspicious.
It was, but I have hope.
It would be
I have a
very
large
cool if
amount
there
of
was
hope.
more than one
Right.
choice.
But you know what I think is interesting about that is that there was a time when there were so many rumors about phones, an upgraded Samsung Galaxy Nexus,
Yeah.
An HTC thing.
Yeah.
And what's funny is that those companies sort of like were totally happy to kind of like.
But
wink
HTC
about those.
just did introduce this. Well, they
Right,
introduced
the
this.
5-inch HTC came out as an HTC product.
Yeah.
So what's weird is that they're putting out these phones and Samsung the Galaxy Nexus thing turned out to be the Galaxy Premier, which is like the most depressing.
What is that?
It's it's a phone has the specs of a slightly upgraded Galaxy Nexus that runs touch. It's a Galaxy Premier.
I don't want
Wait,
that.
If I said the
is
word
that
to
a-
you,
is that a
Samsung
rumor?
Galaxy
Is
Premier.
that a real thing?
Is that a rumor?
It's a it's a good.
The Galaxy Premier.
Yeah, but it's not like a phone that you want. If I said to you the Samsung Galaxy Premier, would you say in your mind, yeah, that definitely sounds like something I want? All right.
Anyhow.
But it's funny because
No, I don't think I want that.
Yeah.
It sounds like a multimedia PC.
But,
Galaxy Premier would be a great gateway
with an
multimedia
HD
PC.
DVD drive on it.
yeah,
in it.
exactly.
No, it's got like a CD, but it can play like QuickTime movies off of the CDs.
I would buy that
Yeah.
in 1997.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of. Then Apple has an event
On the
on the
23rd.
23rd. So there's like just a lot of stuff happening. We should try to go through it. What should we go through first?
Let's do Google. That's
You want to do Google?
Yeah.
Okay. So what do we need to say about Google? Oh well, they also had an announcement today.
Their earnings
No, their Chromebook.
and the Chromebook.
Yeah.
Which I actually really like the Chromebook.
I like it
What's
too.
the new
Yeah.
Chromebook?
It's
The new Chromebook
$249. It runs ARM.
250 ARM based, 11.6 inch display. But what I don't understand is I was like, oh man, ARM based, this is going to get all day battery. And they're listing the battery life at 6.5 hours, 6.5
ridiculous.
hours. Which is like, I don't understand. Like, I actually saw our headline and I tweeted, I was like, oh, this is going to be good. Like, probably all day battery life, which
Yeah.
is like what you want in a laptop, which is like the dream, and Schmidt's dream. And then it's like 6.5 hours is like not, what are these, what is the air rated at? It's like,
It's more than that.
it's like 7
Yeah.
or something. So if they're rating it at 6.5, they're boasting about 6.5.
Is it like ultra thin? Is it thinner than
no?
the
It's
Intel
not.
one?
It's not thinner than the Air. I don't think. I don't understand it.
let's find out.
They're like we skimped
that-
on the
is the-
battery.
I don't know.
It's a real
no
shame
idea.
because I think that
Is it like 3G or something?
No.
I don't think so.
I mean, this thing is like what it should be is a tiny little motherboard with their own processor on it, and then a gigantic battery.
Right.
I mean, that's what
So,
the Air is.
I mean, it
fundamentally.
literally should be like the guts of a phone,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
With a huge battery.
And so yeah, it's 2.5 pounds, 0.8 inches thick. But it's like you can put a gigantic battery in that.
You know,
case.
is like a Chrome OS not as optimized for battery as something like?
I mean, it looks like
phone
It looks
operating
like a
system?
regular laptop, so it should. I mean, I don't know, but I think the current one that is x86 is like 5
It's like-
hours.
Yeah, it's like 5.
So you get an extra hour and a half of battery. That's really not very impressive.
Right, so that's why I'm wondering if it's an operating system, if they're just running all those cores all the time like crazy.
It's Linux based.
Yeah, well, like Linux laptops
Yeah, the
get
Airs
less
are,
battery life than Windows or
Yeah.
Mac.
The
laptops
Airs
now.
are 7 hours on the 13.
Then why even bother making it just so they can make a smaller one?
Well, it is $250.
And it's $250. I mean, that's cool. But like
every additional hour of battery life is $1,000.
But what are they saying the Surface is going to get? The RT, which is ARM based.
It's also like 7.
I think it's more than that.
Is it more than that?
I think it is. What do they say on the Buy It Now page? Just click on the ads that are all over our site that appeared today. I was like, oh, we've got Surface ads on our site.
I've got IE.
Here's a video of Scott Lowe with the new.
I mean, that thing looks. Apart from the deck that looks exactly like a MacBook Air,
It looks like an Air.
yeah.
It looks exactly like an Air.
Um,
God, did we mention it in the post? Please tell me we did. I can't go through another Gruber attack. I can't take it. Mine won't make it.
What is it made out of?
what was I looking for?
Something stolen.
Like stolen parts?
They melted down. They stole Airs and melted them down to make this. I doubt they use materials that good.
Yeah, I doubt it. Tech specs for the Surface.
What do they got?
8 hours mixed activity.
8 hours.
Mixed activity. That's what it says.
8 hours versus 8 hours
6.5.
is pretty good.
Yeah, mixed activity.
Like some of those activities.
Mixed activity definitely sounds like like something you put on a police report about what people were doing right before they were arrested.
Or like a police album.
Yeah.
or a police album. I like that. Mixed activity. That is really good. That is a great album title. Don't anybody out there use that. That's Paul's.
Yeah.
He's taking that one.
Yeah. Mixed
So
activity.
I'm really annoyed with my hair situation here. I need someone to just hold my hair in place. I need someone to come out here and just hold this part down.
Michael.
So Michael, get down here. No. It's fine, but he did get up, and that's frightening and a little bit worrisome. I was actually really excited when I saw the announcement, but my excitement has been somewhat deflated. Like I would be cool with it if it had. I just don't feel. I'm not sure what the outstanding feature of this is. I guess the price point.
$250.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, I'm just trying to think. Is a Chromebook more useful than the Nexus 7?
Yes.
Well, it's easier to type on.
Yes.
And
the browser is
it's
better.
easier to do email and stuff.
I'm assuming it won't have Flash.
Well, how much?
Why wouldn't it have Flash?
How much does the Surface
There's
cost?
never been a single implementation of Flash on an ARM processor that has been good.
Well, but this is no.
And I don't think.
Well, then they're gonna have some problems
How much does the Surface RT cost?
because a lot of like Chrome apps use Flash.
Yeah.
The Surface RT is $499 without the keyboard at 32 gigs. So that's like iPad is $499 16 gig. Theirs is 32 gig. Then for $100 more you get it with the keyboard. It's like a bundle.
Well, so
and then you can get 64 with keyboard for $699. So the top price is with keyboard 64 gigs is $699.
Well,
And what's the 64 gig iPad?
So if you're looking
we're back
at,
to me shopping. On
if you're like a keyboard,
I can get my computer.
Like
don't do that.
You hate when I get my
It's a
computer
bad
out.
idea.
You don't like
I have to have a real keyboard.
Right.
I'm actually getting really fast at the iPad screen keyboard, but I still need a real keyboard. And if I'm comparing, do I get a Nexus 7 with a Bluetooth keyboard, or an iPad with a keyboard, or a Surface with a
$6.99,
keyboard,
by the way.
or do I get the Chromebook
Yeah.
just for typing, all day, all types?
Here's where the Chrome. Let's look at
$6.99 by the without
without
60.
without 3G.
I mean,
Without
at least if Google Docs
the
works
top end
offline
iPad with
for once in its life.
LTE
I mean,
is $8.29.
let's look at the landscape here of new devices. So you've got at the low end price wise, you've got Kindle HD, Kindle Fire HD, Nexus 7 at $200.
Yeah.
Right. Nexus 7 is a full featured Android tablet. Does everything every other Android tablet does.
Right.
Did you just laugh?
It's not like a great pitch.
No,
line.
I understand, but I'm saying like in terms of its potential,
It's great. It's a great.
there's nothing
product.
stopping it from being
Right. It's just
you know,
that's not how I would choose to sell that product.
Well, I understand that, but I'm saying it's a full featured tablet.
Yes.
The Kindle is a full featured tablet, but it's obviously
It's like a playground.
the Kindle is I believe it has missing some very important elements like a great email client
think that
and Google Docs and things
Right.
that
So
you would want
I
on
think
a tablet.
the split for me there is the Kindle is a really great piece of hardware with very deficient software.
Yeah.
And the Nexus is pretty average hardware.
It's average hardware.
with really excellent. software.
I mean, I like the hardware too, and I like the backing, but I mean, in terms of the screen and the
Yeah.
CPU and stuff, it's
the
not
software
like
is
whoa,
terrific.
it's only the one that's 100, that's 200 is an 8 gig,
Yeah.
which is very small.
Right.
Very small.
But-
and we've
but
heard
again-
complaints of people saying like it's not enough storage.
But that,
you know?
and at that, what I'm saying at that point, I would take the better software on the slightly less good hardware because I
Right.
think
but the Chromebook
Nexus
doesn't.
software is
The
so much
Chromebook
better.
doesn't stand in for one of those. I'm trying.
No,
I'm going
I
like
don't
I'm
think
kind of
so.
thinking in the
Yeah, yeah.
price range. So then, okay, then we have the suspected, alleged coming iPad Mini, which people are now rumoring will be $250.
That's my guess.
I mean, we assume it will be a.
Unsubstantiated guess, but that's
We
my
assume it will be a near 8-inch, 7.8 inch iPad.
Yep.
Which presumably will have all of the functionality of the big iPad.
Yep.
Right? Okay. Then, and that's going to be $250 or so.
We're guessing.
Now I'm talking about this is the non-smartphone region. Then you have a jump. What's in between? Is there anything in
There's
between?
there's a $299 iPod Touch sitting there.
But that's a smaller device. That's a different class.
Okay, but it's
Which
still,
comes in colors now, by the way.
Yeah.
does.
I found that out while I was watching. It's like, wait, is that an iPad Nano?
I don't understand.
iPod Nano, and then I was like, no, that's a Touch.
How could you not have known this?
Nobody told me.
So moving along, but the Touch is in a different class. I'm thinking of devices that you might use instead of a traditional laptop,
right?
right?
Isn't there?
Because a lot of people are using iPads
instead of
laptops.
traditional laptop. And look, let's be honest. The big push is like we think that like for maybe 60%, 70% of users at some point, they're going to say, what do I need this 15-inch MacBook Pro for? What I really need is something thin and light and fits in my bag and does all that stuff and isn't complicated. And so I think a lot of people are using iPads. Like I'm using this for email. I'm using it for browsing. I'm using it for Skype, like whatever.
So then the next one is actually
$399 is the iPad.
No, $299 is the bigger Fire HD.
Okay, the Fire HD is at $299.
Yep.
The 8.9 inch.
8.9.
It's not out yet.
Not out yet.
So that's in the gap.
But
That's in the gap, but that's just like
it's a
could
weird
get the
device.
Fire HD 7, but I want the one that's 2 inches bigger.
Yep.
I want to watch movies.
Still
a
has the
little
same
bit
deficiencies in software as presumably we haven't seen it yet.
I would
but,
assume so. Yeah.
Then at $399 you've got the iPad 2.
Yep.
Which is last year's model of the iPad, which will be obsolete next year.
Yeah.
Because my original iPad can't be updated to iOS 6.
I think it actually might have one more year
Wait,
runway because the original iPad had such a small amount of RAM, so there might be a little bit more leeway. But I would say you're right.
When is the next Apple
What?
event?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your
They
point?
didn't get iOS 4.
Whatever.
When
Point
is
is, it's not getting the new
John,
upgrade.
our producer John is pointing out that the original iPad got 3 updates.
Right.
when is
yes.
the new iPad supposed to come out? Like a not
Hold
full
on,
size?
Tuesday.
hold on.
Oh, the next new one.
So
We
wait,
don't know.
the iPad. Hold on. So we're at $399 iPad
Right.
2. Are people just being driven crazy in the chat?
Because-
I just want to know.
Because a $399 iPad 3 would be insanely great.
I think that'll probably happen next year.
That would
Well, that's what
sell
will
really well.
replace the.
Yeah.
right once they've come out with the
Right.
iPad 4.
I don't think.
But let's just
Okay,
focus
sorry,
on
I'm
the
getting-
present.
I'm
There
getting ahead of myself.
there
Getting
have
ahead.
been rumors about a new version of the iPad 3 with the Lightning connector.
I think we'll actually Tuesday, the 23rd, Tuesday or Wednesday.
Tuesday is the 23rd.
Tuesday, I think we'll actually see that. It does not make sense for Apple to go into the holidays.
But do you
selling
think they'll-
an
but do you-
iPad with the old connector
Right.
and an iPhone
Do you think
with
they'll
the new
just say
connector?
where it's the same model, same specs, but we're giving it the Lightning connector,
really doesn't sound like Apple.
and we're just updating it like they do with a laptop?
Yeah, I mean, it's just I don't think it makes sense for them to sell a high end one of their flagship products.
Well, I think it
with the old
depends,
connector.
and maybe they'll say, "Listen, we made a lot of the iPad 3 without the Lightning, and we're going to sell those for
Maybe-
$50 less or something."
With that, but
Maybe they can put like the better cameras that are on the newest iPhone on it or something like that, just to make you feel better
Just a
about
bump?
yourself.
little bump.
I don't know. Anyhow, so I'm just trying to figure out where the.
So then you have
What
this
about
range.
colored backs?
So then you have a range. Well, I actually think it's very possible. So the
little iPad.
the invitation to the event, which by the way is being held at the California Amphitheater in San Jose, which the last event they did there, I think I saw Jackie from Ars Technica tweet that the last thing they did there was in 2004 for the U2 iPod event. So if U2 is there, I'm going to be pretty freaked out.
I mean,
Wait.
the last time was the Foo Fighters, and this time it's U2.
Yeah.
They're just progressively older rock
Hey,
bands.
what's great about the Apple events is I don't have to go see shows anymore.
Yeah.
Because they just keep bringing.
I mean,
out,
we're 2 minutes away from like Steve Miller Band.
What about live?
Tim Cook's like, I want to bring out a band that I love a lot. Steve Miller Band.
What, are there any
And it's
rumors
like-
of an?
That's the beginning of what is the song? What is the song that starts out with like doo 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 doo?
Oh,
It's the synthesizers.
I'm not deep
Come
in the
on,
Steve Miller discography.
Band.
Let's find out.
Are there any iPad
Let's see what stoners know.
keyboard cover rumors?
Are you seriously? I'm gonna keep making
These
this
people are
sound.
all 10 years old.
I
I
know.
don't know what you think about Steve Miller.
And I quote: "These people are all 10 years old."
Fly like an eagle or
Fly like
jungle,
an eagle.
yeah.
Fly like an eagle. Can someone punch up "Fly like an eagle" for me? I want to hear a little bit of the intro.
There's somebody who's very.
The intro will trip you out, man. It's awesome. You gotta be really, really stoned on weed to appreciate
close your ears.
it.
Because an iPad with a lightning connector and a keyboard cover option and a little bit
Do you
better
think
camera.
Apple? I don't think Apple's gonna
and
pull
colored
it.
backs?
I don't think Apple would do a keyboard cover.
I don't know.
That's not
This is
right.
not it. What else you got there?
Sorry, Paul. Close your ears.
Why
No,
don't you just
no,
have
no.
this on iTunes?
Why didn't I just buy this on iTunes?
It'd be Steve Miller's greatest hits.
Oh God, this is the worst thing.
I
We've
feel
ever
like
done.
I feel like that it is "Fly Like an Eagle."
What?
Remember that time we made a joke about
Is
a
it Fly
band
Like
we
an
didn't
Eagle?
want to hear at an
Oh,
Apple
it's
event?
I see. The first track is called Space Intro.
Yeah, thank you. Here we go.
It's a minute and
You got this.
15
You
seconds.
ramping this up?
You gotta tap me when you're done.
Well,
Well, you just mute this part when you put it up on YouTube. Just have like a long beep.
yeah. I mean,
This is great.
This is
Paul's
tremendously
covering-
boring.
I think Paul's covering his ears. Here we go.
'Cause he-
Here we go.
I can still hear everything through the ears.
Light your joints now.
This is, I have to say, tremendously boring.
I'm enjoying it. All right, fine. Take it off. Ooh, it's just getting good. Go ahead, take it off. You're like, should I take it off?
Please, God, let me
All
take
right.
this
Anyhow,
off.
the point is,
I'm
Steve
sorry.
Miller.
I could hear the
Steve
whole
Miller rocks. Okay, I think we've proven our point, and,
Yeah.
and Tim Cook can't wait to bring them out at the next Apple event. No, but on the invitation for the next Apple event, which is, by the way, held at the California Amphitheater
There's
in
a
San
silhouette of
Jose.
Steve Miller. For
No,
the sign.
that's right, and his band. No, but it's like a multicolored invitation. It's got like an
Yeah.
apple with all kinds of waves coming off it in different colors. So I think that the iPad Mini
come in different
will
colors?
come in different colors.
Yes.
But 'cause I think it's going to be constructed a lot like the iPod Touch. I mean, if you look at the Touch, you can easily see how, like, oh yeah, you make the screen bigger, you make the battery bigger, boom,
Yeah.
iPad Mini. I mean, that's it. It's 5-inch, 4-inch screen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's. You can't look at it. Don't look at it. So okay, $249. Then you get $399, $299 for the for the Fire HD, $399 for the iPad 2,
Yep.
$499 for the iPad, and then you hit Surface territory.
Right.
Then you've got Surface, base model, no keyboard, $499, $599 with the keyboard, and then that's kind of at parity
Yep.
with some of the iPad offerings.
And then
like
there's
you've got
Tram
stuff like the
one-
Motorola Zoom,
Yeah, and then that goes all the way up. Well, no, you know,
Galaxy Note
I wouldn't.
10.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't buy an Android tablet. I'm kind of hoping that this Google event, they show off some tablet stuff, and they like kind of.
They'd have to really come correct with some tablet stuff at this
I
point.
mean, I have to say, like, I sat in a room with Andy Rubin in Barcelona in February when he was like, "We're gonna double down on tablets."
He didn't say double down, did he?
Yeah, I did. And
No, we talked about this. Double down is like
Kiss of death.
no, double down is double speak for we've been doing a bad job.
Yeah.
It's not like we've got a good thing going and we're
oh no, it's
improving it. It's
we
like
wrote
we suck at this.
No, I think it's like double down is.
we wrote a whole story on this, by the way.
No, I know we did. I know, but I feel like double down is. It's almost like you're trying to convince yourself
It's
that
the
something's going to work.
emptiest phrase. In
Yeah,
technology.
I like that. You're convincing
You know,
yourself
you're like
that you
like
have something to work with.
this is happening. This is going to happen.
Right.
We're going to make it happen. It's like when Tim Cook was like, "We're going to double down on secrecy."
It's
Right.
like when somebody like plays you a song they wrote and it's really bad, but you find one good thing about it that you like, and then you say that to them.
That's my technique for when people play me their music.
That's my technique for listening to Steve Miller Band.
Hey, every part of Steve Miller Band is good.
Somebody,
I don't really
somebody
like-
accused
by the
me
way-
of insulting the Steve Miller Band.
Can I just say I truly do not like the Steve Miller Band at all. Like I actually dislike the Steve Miller Band. No offense
So,
to the Steve
are you
Miller
saying
Band.
you want me to stop calling you the Space Cowboy?
Please stop referring to me as
But still,
Can I just say,
Josh
so we've got
Cowboy Topolsky.
We've got this huge range all the way up to about $830,
We have a big
which is
range
the top of the tab.
stuff. And by the
iPad.
way, that pushes into when you get into the $700-800 area. Now you're talking like laptop price,
right. And so
And
the last one I want to say is,
and then we come full circle.
the 11-inch Air is $1,000, and I think if if you want like a device like to do productivity with, it's thin and light and has a long battery life and like the 11-inch Air is a pretty spectacular computer.
But this is really funny.
All they really need to do is make that flip back over.
Yeah.
And make the touch screen. And
then it's a Surface.
You've got a $250 Chromebook. You got all these tablets we just talked about.
And then
you've got a $1,000 MacBook Air.
Right.
Yeah.
And what's also interesting is that none of the Ultrabooks, I don't think I've ever seen a good Ultrabook that's like cheaper than $700.
Well, I think the so you no right. So how much will what are they pricing Surface x86 devices at? Do we have any pricing yet on that stuff?
No, I guarantee you they're going to be more expensive.
Well, I'm guessing they're going to be in the 11-inch Air range, right?
That would be maybe a little bit cheaper, but yeah.
So if you're a consumer, all these devices don't have. I mean, isn't just like they're all going to survive because everybody's just trying to. There has to be like some that make more sense than others,
right?
You know, here's the one that I think makes the least sense, and I actually think is one of the cooler devices, the Chromebook.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like people don't fundamentally, like, understand or want what the Chromebook offers.
Right.
I think there are things about the Chromebook that are really, really cool. Mm-hmm. Like, the fact that it is, you know, most of the stuff is stored in the cloud, the vast majority, is very cool. But then it presents problems, like, when you're offline. Mm-hmm. Right, because it doesn't have it's not secondarily storing that stuff on the device. The applications aren't actual applications. People like
they're offline Google Docs yet.
Yeah, I believe they do have it on the
always, man.
But here's the thing: people like what's weird about the Chromebook is it's like apps are like living in the browser in some way. You can make them as windowed things, but they never really function as they never fully function as standalone things. And it's like we've learned that people really love utilizing applications. Like makes sense to them. They can compartmentalize the work they're doing. Like I'm in this thing doing this, and then I'm in this doing this, and like it all makes sense because that's what
I think. There's probably a good portion of the population that still doesn't really fully grasp tabbed browsing.
No, I'm saying that browsing is like you're looking for stuff on the internet to a lot of people. I mean, they're like, I need to open my email. You know, I meet people all the time that they're hardcore Mac Mail users, you know. They don't mess with Gmail. Even if they have a Gmail account, they're using Mac Mail to access it, which is totally fine if that's how you want to live your life. But, you know, I think that's how people think. So the Chromebook misses this really big, important idea that you want people to be able to go like, I have all my apps and I open one and I'm in the app and I'm doing app stuff and then I close that and I open another one. Even if they want to present some of it in a different way.
I like they're still trying though. I think that
the Chromebook, and I think that for a lot of uses,
just slowly getting closer. It's everything. By the way, like all I do with my iPad is write, and the Chromebook would actually be.
No, I mean for a lot of you, in a lot of ways, the Chromebook is an ideal computer for many people. You know, and like there are a lot of people who just live in the browser and they don't ever open. I mean, there are. It's a smaller percentage, but people who just are kind of like, I got my Gmail, my calendar, and whatever.
Right. So both Adrian and Chris, who's now verified. I didn't believe them, but they use Chromebooks as like primary when they don't want to be at work and like connected. Ironically, when they want to be less connected, they use a Chromebook.
I don't understand
because they can open docs and write and like have email around. But there's no IM in their face.
I actually really love the last Samsung Chromebook that came out. I think the improvements they made in the OS are huge, and I think it feels like this kind of weird hybrid of like Windows and OS 10 and Linux and like web. Web interface, and I actually think it works really well in some instances, and then in others, I'm just like, this isn't useful.
One of the nice things, I mean, the Chromebook is still very edge, but like, you got somewhere to go, Josh?
I got to get out of here. See you later. Clock is ticking. Go on. Don't feel any pressure. I'm timing you. Go on.
I mean,
you really got knocked off the rails here, buddy.
All I did was just glance at my watch.
I've been reading a lot about like the presidential debates, and there's this famous moment when some presidential debater, it might have been Bush or like Bush Senior, like looked at his watch during a debate, and it was a huge thing.
Clinton's head exploded.
I don't know,
burst into flames.
You're not allowed to make jokes
here's
about
what I'm
that.
worried about. You've now gone like 6 months without ambient distraction, and that much of an ambient distraction, like completely.
I mean, literally is like the lowest level. Like I checked the time on my. I was like, "What time is it?" And you're like, thrown off completely.
Okay. Can I just be? Can I be a little blunt right now?
That was a lot. Yeah.
Okay, so like I know like
like
I'm
you're
a
being
special weird
victimized.
case. I don't have anything to be distracted by.
Yeah.
It means I actually notice a lot more if someone pulls out their, because I know I used to be that guy. Pull out my phone, I was scrolling through stuff while I was talking to somebody.
I'm doing it right now.
Now that I don't have that at all to do, I really notice people. And to be honest,
You judge them.
well, to be really honest, why that was a big deal that he did that during a debate, because that's rude.
Yeah.
If someone's talking and you look at your watch while they're talking,
No, I would. I see.
that is literally rude.
objection. I
sure-
object to
Look,
that.
Google
You are George Bush
Google
Senior.
Objection.
All
Google
is
some sort of
whoever
like manners guide
No.
on like how to be polite
Well,
in conversation. It would say, do not
Well,
look
at
at your
what
watch
point I
while they're
can't check
talking.
I can't look at what time it is while I'm talking.
Wait until he's talking.
That's true.
I want to know when am I supposed to check? If I need to know what time it is right now, because maybe I have a meeting.
You should check while you're talking. Actually,
We just
See?
wasted 5
you see,
minutes.
while it was your turn to talk and you check.
Does that seem like it's helpful to you?
Because if you're looking at your
I know you were gonna
watch,
make a point, but we don't
it
have any
does
time.
look
I'm so
like
sorry.
well, it's too late for Paul to be saying this. We should probably move on. Paul's wasting our time by.
It wasn't like
by
I did
talking
this. I
about-
wasn't like
That's what you know. What? That's how it felt.
wrap it up.
That's how it felt.
Let's go. I don't have it all night.
Anyways, Chromebook is a total edge thing that I don't think it's definitely mainstream yet.
Yeah.
But at least it's only trying one thing. And like
This is like kryptonite.
Windows 8 is trying
Go on.
2 things.
Yeah. You know,
So
so
Windows 8, even
Well, hold on.
Windows
That's what I
8
get to.
RT,
I want to get to that. So,
They've got
so,
Office in the regular Windows interface, and then they've got the Metro interface, and that is
but this is what I want to get
things.
to. It's just Office. You can't. The Windows RT machine, and we actually wrote. Sean did a great article about this, where it was like basically customer service reps trying to figure out like.
at Microsoft stores.
Yeah, and Microsoft's
Not
trying
like-
to figure out how to explain to people the difference between RT and Windows 8 machines, like Pro, whatever they're calling them, Pro. Now I got this curl. What is happening? How do I even deal with this? Is that you're really making me feel self-conscious that you're checking your rub it up. So yes, thank you. They have this.
You want to borrow the watch?
They have this.
I was gonna maybe
why,
draw
how,
one
by
off
the way,
of my
how is
wrist.
it you don't wear a watch? You're like you've no internet. You have a phone that barely
so you know
works,
what?
and you don't think it's important to know what time it is.
It's not.
Must be wonderful to
You
live
don't
your
want to
life.
surface
Time
things.
is an artificial
Continue.
Surfing just on a relaxation canoe through life.
Surfing on a relaxation canoe.
Through life.
All right. Microsoft Store employees.
Well, so
explaining.
so they're trying to explain the difference between RT and 8, but like the raw facts are RT runs 4 Office apps, right?
Yeah.
And then you can't write for Windows, like desktop environment. It's got Internet Explorer and the Office apps in the Windows environment. And then a file explorer and all of your control panels and whatever else would be there. And that's all you can do on the RT device in that environment.
From just a user interface standpoint, if you are a user interface guru and trying to make things intuitive to a user, you have 2 interface paradigms.
2 completely different paradigms. But the weird thing is that the one paradigm only exists for 5 apps.
Right.
Yeah.
It's really
Okay,
weird.
and then you have this other. So what I'm saying is like, how does Microsoft say to consumers, don't buy the iPad? They have to say like our tablet is better than that tablet. Like the Surface has to be taken at the Surface RT that they're releasing on what day is it? The 26th.
Yeah.
Is that the day it's like goes on sale?
Yeah.
That tablet.
They invent it
That
midnight.
tablet has to be a more compelling. Better experience as a tablet, not as Windows, to those users.
Right. With this backstop of Office. I mean, that's really the thing.
Yeah, but like
you can't
but
get
how many
Office
people
on
have
the
you
app.
ever met in your life that are like, I gotta have Office?
A lot
of people.
A lot of people.
A lot of people.
Yeah, that's the
a
end
lot
of
of
it.
people.
But I haven't.
No,
met
that's
that.
their whole selling point.
But that is it. That's their selling point.
That's their selling point.
Like
But
it's
what's
like
ridiculous-
we're a tablet plus we have Office.
Yeah,
Right.
but what's ridiculous about that is you're saying our best, most important apps, like
The killer apps for this
the
thing.
killer apps, we couldn't do in Metro. But don't worry, we're gonna have a bunch of great apps in Metro.
Yeah.
Like somebody out there will create a killer app. And it's like, well, if you couldn't create a killer app in your own operating system, how is anybody else supposed to create a killer app?
That is truly an odd thing, right? That you would think like, all right, cool, you're gonna do Office. You've made new awesome tablet optimized. They do everything Office does, but they're made for the tablet environment. No, they're on Windows.
Look at like
here's the thing.
Look at GarageBand on iOS, and then look at all the other iOS like multi-track audio suites. Like it is incredible, and there are a lot of that are kind of comparable to GarageBand. Apple didn't make any like special little tricks, so its own audio thing could be better. Everybody can. You're
saying great apps are possible.
Right. Well,
for first party and for third party.
Any developer can make an app that is almost exactly as good as an Apple app.
That's why I think
that's
why I think what would be kind of crazy is if like the $599 Surface was also like a Windows computer.
Right.
And you're like, yeah, you want to run a Windows app, go ahead, but like you don't you got all this tablet stuff going on.
Well, so
but it's not, but that isn't the proposition for users.
Here's the
users
thing
have to decide like I want a thing that's portable and light and has all day battery life and I can do X, Y, and Z with. And that X, Y, and Z, like they're looking at the iPad, they're looking at the Surface, are they looking at the Nexus? Are they looking at a Chromebook? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But like at some point, there's got to be some decision making.
And I think the reason we're comparing all these things is all of these things can do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
All of those things can make a PowerPoint.
But I mean, you can do it.
It's like, how do you want to go about it?
Well, you can make a PowerPoint presentation in Google Docs and whatever kind of weird,
or on the iPad.
You could do a PowerPoint presentation in Keynote,
right? Or, they all have abilities to do all of these things. It's just how do you want to go about it? And Chromebook is one of the most bizarre ways, but at least they only have one.
But I guess what I'm asking is like as on the precipice of the Surface being released to the world, which by the way they said they sold out of their. We don't know what that number means. They might have only had 1,000 available.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was a higher number than that.
Well, the reports were they were making like 3 to 5 million.
But I think they sold out of 3 to 5 million.
No, I think there was a wave. I think it's like the iPhone, right? They're selling.
I mean,
as fast as they
can sell hardware. You know, they sold Kinect as like the fastest selling
well, so
electronic.
So here's the thing about
ever.
the Surface. Microsoft just had a bunch of people out to Redmond. It was like night. I mean, David was there.
David went out there.
Everybody was there.
All the folks were there,
and so everybody ran a piece of Microsoft's like tour. You know, they had Steven Sinofsky and they had the other guy, Panay Pekar.
I hung with Steven.
Yeah,
recently,
and they did all this stuff. All this. Right? Well, they did all this stuff. They showed him how they built it. They were like, "It's so strong. It's made of magnesium." They glued skateboard wheels on the bottom of one and like went skating through the lab. Like all this stuff that they did.
They put someone on it?
Yeah. There's pictures of Sinofsky riding one. He tweeted it the next day.
I missed that.
They went through this weird thing where they kind of constant. I read a bunch of these reports, but they had this constant kind of background of we're competing with the iPad directly, but we don't want to say it too much.
Right.
And they had this big part where they were explaining how the screen is better than the iPad screen, even though it's only 1366 by 768, because how they use subpixel rendering and like they brought out like a mathematician to explain like all this crazy stuff.
Came out a white lab coat.
Yeah, pretty much.
He had like crazy hair and he had a one of those long pointers and was
pretty much
like a old school chalkboard from like the 50s.
I read it. It's like they had the name has some like nodular transformation. It's like some crazy name it means nothing.
They make an ointment.
And so one of the most interesting take that I read was Matt Buchanan in BuzzFeed. He was a great writer, and he was like, "This is great." It was really interesting to see how much they care and believe, but there is an air of like quiet desperation here that this has to work because if it doesn't, and people don't believe that this is the future of Windows, like Microsoft becomes irrelevant, and all of this stuff that they're doing.
Yeah.
All of this, the stuff with the Surface, the stuff with the phone, even the stuff with the Xbox. Like if it doesn't all work the way they think it's going to work and the way they're kind of insisting that it works, then things begin to fall apart very rapidly for them.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually, when you look at the big scheme of things, I think it's actually very telling that they're driving. It seems like they're in the driver's seat with the phones, right? They appear to have insisted to Nokia and to HTC that they do these crazy colors. They do the chassis requirements, all this stuff with the phones. They're in the driver's seat in the software for sure. They're building their own tablet because they don't trust anyone else to make a tablet. Now they're claiming, which I think is insane, that they decided to build the Surface 3 years ago before the iPad ever came out, which is like, that is a lie. I just don't believe you. Like,
Well,
that didn't happen,
they've always been
right?
interested in tablets. I mean,
But the idea that they had to build an integrated tablet
what
to
is
compete with
definitely
the
not a lie is that they've always had an interest in touch.
No, I agree.
And
The
in
natural user
tablets.
interface. Bill Gates has been talking about natural user interface for the whole time.
I think
the
Microsoft
Kinect is
has-
proof
yeah,
positive that
yeah.
they are
But
deeply invested in that.
R&D and actual products. I mean, look, we know they
Right.
were working on the Courier.
But you know what I would say? But here's the thing.
No, but
here's
I
what's
don't
interesting.
totally
But the
disbelieve
only place
that they may have had some kind of I mean, if the Courier
they're
was
gonna-
at any point a conversation,
Yeah.
they had to have talked
the
about
product that they killed and then two of their executives left. I don't know, man.
Well, but they had to have at least had conversations
But
about different
what's
tablet
interesting
form
to
factors
me-
they might manufacture.
But what's interesting to me is that the wide swath of the middle of the market for them, they're not taking control of, right? So the PC market,
Yeah.
they are saying, here's our software, Windows 8, right? Like, go make some Ultrabooks, see what happens.
Yeah.
We're going to focus our efforts on tablets and on phones because this is where we don't trust you, Samsung.
right.
This is where we don't trust you, Lenovo.
Right.
You can have this stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that is fascinating. Like if you want to believe that Microsoft is a little bit desperate to be relevant, it is amazing to me that desperation has not carried over into the products that they are most famous for, which is PCs. And that to me is like fascinating.
But that's the market that's declining.
Right, but it's the
the
market,
shrinking
But this is
market.
what we're talking about. This is that whole range of products, right? What are you going to replace your PC with? Is it
Well, I
a
think
more limited
the Surface
use?
is what you're going to replace your PC with.
Really?
And the Surface Pro, but they're doing that. This is the Surface Pro is like, we're giving you the best of the PC world and do your Windows stuff on it.
Right. No, we're having a heated agreement.
Right. And
I
that's
just
going to
think
be,
this
how
is
much
like
is that going to be?
fascinating.
800, 900?
Right.
I bet they don't
that
do
doesn't
over
be
1,000.
expensive.
That'll be their MacBook Air.
Right.
Right?
And this is, months ago, over the summer, when I went to Vizio, and I was like, why are your computers so expensive? And they're like, look, there is cheap PCs, and then there's Apple, and in the middle, it's like there's no one.
Right.
And we're going to try to, and it didn't work
How's
for
that working
them.
out for Vizio?
It didn't work for them. But
I don't think people are holding off on
because I
buying
think that whole
PCs.
middle, that big middle where people want to spend $700, that's what's being eaten by the tablet. And that's where Microsoft has to be. But I just think it's amazing that they're like, we saw, what was this Windows 8 PC we saw? It was like
the Acer.
Loaded with crapware already.
You mean the one that we had that we did the preview of?
Yeah, but then
The Acer? It was the
the
detachable?
the Vivo Tab. No, that wasn't something like that.
No, yeah. You in the office?
Yeah.
The Acer. The one that David ran
Right,
a preview of?
but it already had crapware on it.
No, that wasn't final software. I don't know.
But I've definitely seen ads.
I used a device that was an x86 that was, I believe it's the Acer, and I can't remember the name of it right now, in the office, and I was like, I get this.
Yeah.
This is like Windows, but
that's
like
not-
when
that's not what I'm talking about.
during all the time that I don't want to be doing Windows stuff, when I want to be like using a tablet, this is like a tablet.
Right.
And that's great. Like you've got a full computer that you never have to look at, and then you've got a tablet.
Yep.
The problem with Windows RT, and this is the thing that I'm confused about, and I think people will be confused about, is that it is not that thing.
Yeah.
It is
Just the
5
tablet.
Windows applications and a tablet.
Right.
That's like the new 3 screens in the cloud. 5 applications in a tablet is the new 3 screens in a cloud. It's like I just think that's really difficult and troubling and weird. And like what Microsoft should have strived to do was to say, we're going to have some crazy, like robust ARM CPU here that does Windows.
Right.
And you can write for Windows if you want, and you can we have a whatever, I don't know how a recompiler for your apps from like x86. That's not just a recompiler, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And say like make Pigeon for whatever the app is. I'm throwing Pigeon out because it's one that I use, but go and create Adobe. Go make the new version for the new Windows on the new platform. And we can price these at $500 and sell them like hotcakes.
I think they should. Obviously, we've had this conversation a million times, but I kind of feel like I think tablet operating systems. Now I don't know if you whatever.
Just messing with
I feel
you.
like tablet operating systems. I think a lot of people like them because they're better than desktop operating
Well,
systems.
They're simpler.
They're simpler. They're more
so
straightforward.
simple. They're so
And
straightforward.
have you used Windows 8, the tablet interface?
A little bit. Yeah.
It's
Try
good.
I mean, there's
Yeah.
like one button on the whole thing that doesn't go to the internet, and it's because it launches some Windows app.
That's true. But it is actually like it is a good tablet interface.
It is good, but what I'm scared is Microsoft looked at the landscape and it's like the iPad's the best long jumper, and Android's not a very good long jumper. So like, well, let's be the middle long jumper. Like we don't want to make the we don't want to go.
What does the long jump represent?
Like making the best tablet. Microsoft was scared to make the best tablet because they didn't want to abandon users, Windows users.
Yeah, but the funny thing is that they needed to make the best tablet anyhow. Because
I know. They
it doesn't
needed to,
matter.
and
It
they
doesn't matter
didn't.
if you it's like you say to people in the store like. They're like, it's a Windows computer, but it's also a tablet, and you're like, well, actually, it's not. It looks like Windows in one part of it, but that's just for these 5 apps, and the rest is like you got to get the tablet stuff. So like, you're gonna be in the tablet environment.
Right. I just think if we've learned anything from the past, since the tablet PC era all up till now, people don't buy tablets because of the form factor. People buy tablets because they run iOS.
Right. Yeah, and actually, I think that's what's most interesting to me about this whole conversation about the entire landscape is the stuff like the Galaxy Note and the Motorola Zoom.
Right.
That is not in this conversation.
No.
And it hasn't.
I mean, what's the Note? The Note is a big phone.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the
The
Note's
Note's its
interesting.
own thing. That's really cool.
I mean, I think
No, the Note phone is its own thing, which is
he means
of
he means
modern
the phone.
interest.
Oh, the
he
Note
doesn't mean
tablet,
he
yeah.
doesn't mean the tablet.
yeah. The tablet
No,
is like
I mean
a piece, right?
big expensive Android tablets have failed in the marketplace.
Yeah.
No one has been able to say why I would want a big expensive
Well,
Android
right.
tablet. You can't tell me why I would want to spend $500 or $600 on an Android tablet. If you can, I'm all ears.
Right.
But nobody can
Friggin'
do it.
well, I just played around with like a Sony.
I always get whenever it comes to Android. Somehow I always end up swearing about Android.
like a
sorry.
Sony Intel
Sorry, Trevor.
tablet with like a pressure sensitive pen, right? And their painting app, their flagship app that uses their pen, is a Windows app. So
Right.
you've got Metro, and you can swipe around with your finger or the pen. That's great. Woo.
What is this on what?
On the Sony's
Yeah.
new tablets or
Right.
whatever,
Yeah.
or like they've got a convertible and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
The DuoSense 11.
Whatever.
Oh my
So-
God.
Sony's names
But you
are like
you tap the icon that is their
Tap
flagship.
26. Yeah.
And it
their
opens
flagship-
Windows.
It
Yeah.
opens a Windows app that you draw with your stylus, and then like the other demo apps that I could use that don't use the internet. There's like a air hockey game for Windows,
Yeah.
like for whatever we call it now.
Metro.
Metro.
I mean, it's called the modern UI.
No, yeah.
For the
it's
modern UI,
They're,
there's a-
they're just going to go with Windows 8.
It's like laggy. The air hockey game is ultra laggy. Like
Yeah.
the air
Was it a
hockey
Sony game?
The air hockey. I don't know. It's just air hockey, but like. It's worse than some of the first gen iOS apps. I remember one of the first games I ever got for iOS was air hockey, and it played better than this,
Yeah.
Metro air hockey app.
Well, I mean,
And like, sure, maybe that developer sucks at it, but it's like, I don't know. I think Windows 8 Windows 8 is going to be okay, and it's going to get average reviews and average adoption, but is not going to stop this downward trend of PC sales, and it's going to be the Windows Phone of tablets.
I think.
well, no, because
Well-
Windows Phone has to compete with two major players.
Mm-hmm.
In the tablet, there's only the iPad.
But
And
I don't think the Windows
they
8
can
is
pull
an
off.
Android for this at all.
I think they can pull off a lot of those enterprise customers. I think for consumers, it's going to be a much.
Oh, the enterprise is no problem because they're just going to say
it's Windows.
it's Windows and just
great.
use your Windows apps and it's just faster
Yeah.
and cleaner and simpler and
Right.
that's what the Windows environment is there for.
Right.
It's not really for consumers, but I think
But
consumers are looking like,
Uh,
am I sticking around with Windows or can I do everything I need to do on an iPad?
Corporations
And I
might
think
buy
that's the place-
x86
That's
tablet.
what he's talking about. X86. They're not
Yeah.
going to buy RTs.
Right.
They're not going to buy Windows RT tablets. It doesn't make
Yeah.
any sense because they can't do what they can't take their management software they use for their shipping
Yeah.
Right.
schedules.
But if you're buying
and I'm just inventing this company.
shipping schedules.
They ship. It's a company that makes It's a company that makes
Hand soap.
pallets
Pallets.
for
of-
shipping.
Yeah.
Shipping pallets.
And they have to ship them.
Yeah, they have
So
to
they
ship
need
the
they
pallets.
have two
I have,
custom apps.
Do they have
one
like
for
a,
the
is there
manufacturing
like an
of the
Earl
pallets?
pallet
Yeah.
that you
and
put
then
the
another
pallets
for
on?
figuring out what pallets the pallets go on to
Pallet
for shipping.
logistics.
Yeah.
Double pallet logistics.
Logistics.
Yeah. You should start that app.
Palgistics.
In the
That
Windows
app-
Store.
That app that they developed to manage their Palgistics probably runs on XP.
No, it runs.
You
Of
know?
course, of course.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so,
like, you can have
and
an
there's still
x86 tablet that
trepidations
runs
about
X-
and there's still
XP, and you're
trepidations about
totally fine.
Windows 7.
So
Look,
Windows 8 doesn't help you at all. And by the way, Windows 8 touchscreen stuff, like in operating system, is like an inch better than Windows 7. Like it is barely
Oh, you
better.
mean in the
yeah, but
in
it's,
Windows
it's the
environment?
Like when
whole,
you
but
get-
that's
yeah,
like,
when you
but that
get
is a
into the window-
stopgap. You cannot judge. That's not fair to judge that.
What do you mean?
Okay, fine. What's the
Wait,
stop
you
that?
mean on
And
what? But he
everything
used
will be way
he
better
used
with
the
Windows 9.
Sony, the new Sonys.
Right. But I'm
Windows
saying,
8.
but the touchscreen stuff in the desktop on Windows 8,
Yeah.
Right.
that is definitely
But
a
you mean like
stopgap.
Windows 9 it'll be gone?
But I'm just saying, I'm just saying there's real
it's
no
clear to
advantage.
me. It's
Yeah,
like it's
but they
blindingly
may not be-
obvious.
what he's saying is
that
that this is
what they're
Metro is
shipping
But they're
right
going to
now.
limp. But they're going to limp to Windows 9. Is what
Yeah.
you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
And by the time Windows 9 comes around, like the Air will be an iPad.
Yeah. Well,
Wrap your head around that, folks. Okay, we got to move on from this. I don't know what we're talking about at all.
we're just yelling.
We're
about
just
Microsoft.
yelling about it.
right.
No, but I do think it's
I just
now
think-
that we know more about the Surface, I think it's like I'm just trying to figure out how it fits in the market. Like I'm trying to figure out who the Surface is for. I think, having seen it, having read what David wrote, I think that it's a really interesting piece of hardware. I think they have some really good ideas. I think Windows 8 has some amazing ideas in the Metro or the modern UI interface. Right. I think it has zero amazing ideas from what I've seen in the desktop interface.
Right. Yes.
And I think it's just
And the
Windows
desktop
7 with
isn't dead yet.
slightly different close buttons. And, we've seen it on devices. I know what we saw it on this Acer. You get a feel for what it's like. I think you can live in that tile environment, but it has to be as good as, if not better than what the iPad offers.
Yeah.
Well, and
to win.
The desktop isn't
Or to
dead.
compete.
The desktop might be dying,
Yeah.
but there's still a lot of room for ideas, and Apple is growing.
Their ideas are very incremental at this point. I mean,
No,
they've
no,
done
no,
some.
no, but their sales, like Apple's
Oh, yeah,
laptop
yeah,
sales,
yeah.
trend up while the industry
Well,
sales
and you have
trend
to- and
down.
you- and-
so there's
and-
clearly room for somebody to do better stuff in the desktop, even if we are moving to tablets
Well,
eventually.
and as you see, and what you see is like Apple's doing their own version of the tiles, right? That's that's Launchpad and the way folders work in Launchpad and the notification center. I mean, they're bringing iOS. They're doing what Windows 8 is doing.
Yeah.
But
It's
in a
they're
way
doing
better
it,
way.
They're doing it in a much more subtle way.
Yeah.
It's like a little bit here, a little
'Cause
bit
it's
here.
still a desktop
We're
operating system.
Yeah, and we're incrementally doing it. And your basic operating system hasn't really fundamentally changed. I mean, what changed between Mountain Lion and what was the first version of OS 10?
A lot changed between those two.
No, I
things.
know. Okay,
lot.
fine. Forget about the first version. Tiger.
like obviously, I
Between
mean,
Mountain Lion and Tiger.
A lot.
a lot,
A lot.
a lot.
But they're not unrecognizable. There's no part of it that's unrecognizable.
It's relentless iteration. I mean,
Right.
that's what Apple
and
does,
you're not
right?
you're not looking at the Launchpad even and going like, what is this?
Yeah, that Launchpad's.
It still looks
tease.
like a grid of, but it still looks like a grid of OS 10 icons.
Right.
It looks like a different folder. Full screen apps are just like the same apps, bigger. Without,
Launchpad is a ridiculous.
I don't know anybody who uses it.
Yeah, I don't use
I only use it to delete apps that I've installed.
All right, so
using the App
there's
Store.
3 stories. On
Yeah,
the
we
list.
have limited time. We actually are over time right now, but we started a little bit late, so let's try to do this very quick.
So you get your pick.
Yep.
We can talk about SoftBank buying Sprint and Sprint buying Clearwire, which is I think boring.
I'm going to veto that one. I'm gonna cut that.
We can talk about Boxy TV, or we can talk about Reddit.
Reddit.
Everyone wants to talk about
Boxy.
Reddit. I'm gonna let you two fight it out, or we can talk about both. Do you know what's going on with Reddit?
You told me a little bit. Josh did, I think.
No, explain to people your understanding of the Reddit situation.
So with Reddit,
It's just going to look like my understanding of the Reddit situation.
with Reddit, you submit a story
Oh God.
to the Reddit, and then
To the Reddit?
Yeah, the
Reddit
Reddit.
users
All
can
right.
upvote stories and comment on
Oh, you
them.
only have half of the story. Let's. You're describing the second half of the story.
No, that's how Reddit works. You submit
Yes,
stories
but
and the people
you're
update.
edging it. Okay, go ahead.
That was
More?
the story.
That's not the story. The bigger story. The bigger story.
Well, there's some sort of censorship,
Yes.
random
There's
stuff.
Adrian
whatever.
Chen from Gawker.
Whatever. This is
wrote a
inside
piece.
baseball.
It's not.
No, it's not. I really actually don't think it is.
The piece saying Adrian Chen from Gawker is a little bit inside baseball since he's a guy who writes in our industry and nobody, people reading don't really care. A writer from Gawker wrote a piece about some of the more questionable and nasty
one person, and particularly one person.
Well, but he wrote about in the kind of the sphere of these kind of questionable subreddits that exist. He wrote about one of the guys who was kind of led them. He was the creator, the moderator, the champion.
Yeah, Violent Acres is his name.
Is that his name? Violent Acres?
Violent Acres.
Is that actually how it's pronounced? I didn't really even ever.
It is.
He's a guy who's like a 45. I mean, he exposed his identity. That's the gist of the story. His goal was to write a story. I personally I understand some of the outrage about this. The story was, I think the story is really interesting, has a lot of really important stuff in it. But I think there's a part where it's like, hey, we're exposing this guy, and here's what this nasty, messed up Redditor looks like and where he works. Right. Kind of like that's like the tabloid takeaway. Okay. So Reddit moderators, I don't think Reddit itself has this policy. So here's Reddit moderators have created they have a rule that they don't.
Right.
They don't like their Redditors. They think anonymity is important, that people should be allowed to go on Reddit and do what they do and not be exposed. So, if somebody posts a link exposing somebody's...
No, so this is the key. This is there is Reddit policy, and Reddit policy pretty much only says...
Reddit corporate policy.
Reddit, the terms of service for Reddit say you cannot expose other people's personal information on Reddit.
On Reddit.
Yep. But it has no content policy.
It doesn't say you can't link to things exposing people's identity.
Well, yeah, but I mean... So that's like the law of Reddit, right? Like Reddit has a law, and that's it. But Reddit does not have a law that says you can't post jailbait pictures of girls,
right?
And it doesn't have a law that says you can't post creep shots. The big subreddit was people take pictures
creep shots. It's
women on the street,
pictures of women on the street without their knowing that are like sexy pictures, and
right. Yeah. So then the moderators say, well, our highest law is a protection of anonymity. So you published our guy's personal information. You said who he is, what his name is. So we're going to ban Gawker.
So they said,
and so this is the moderators of Reddit.
They said that the key moderators of Reddit said we're going to ban all links out to Gawker sites. Full stop.
Yep.
Okay. Then what we discovered, which was very.
So then we wrote a story.
So we wrote a story about what was going on, and we actually wrote
which is technology culture.
Which is totally technology culture, which is really interesting that Reddit's having this big battle about, what they'll tolerate. And so hold on, let me just, before I say this part. So Reddit is supposed to be this community that stands for, if there's anything they're going to fight against, it's going to be censorship.
Right.
If there's anything that the creep shots subreddit represents, it is the lack of censorship.
Yep.
It is the most, look, it's dark. And it's maybe you don't like it, and maybe in some places it's not even legal. But it is saying we're entitled to express ourselves in any way we want. We have a place to do it, and we're not going to be censored, and we don't allow censorship here. I think short of breaking the law, they're like we're not going to have censorship. So they censored an entire site. From their service for a single article, right? Which is an incredible bit of hypocrisy. I mean, the most insane to me, you stand for anonymity and freedom from censorship by censoring something, you know? So what was interesting is we wrote a story about that, look, Reddit's, their moderators are grappling with some big issues. Users are upset, readers are upset. The press is upset. These moderators are pissed. We wrote a story about that. Somebody, a Redditor, not a moderator, just a regular user of the service, posted the story to Technology, where you would think, hey, other people might want to read this story about Reddit. It's in the news. That post got delisted by the moderators.
It was on its way up.
It was on its way. It was being upvoted. It was a bunch of upvotes. Delisted by moderators. Which essentially means banned, and the user who submitted it got banned, which is insane because it's okay, so you're banning this on the basis that we're talking about the thing that you're doing, which is the craziest form of censorship that exists. I mean, that is I don't want you to say the things you're saying, so I'm going to remove it. That is just pure censorship. I don't like what you're saying, essentially, yeah, I mean,
Right.
it's a cluster.
And then I
it's a
would point
cluster.
out, then we wrote a third article
Yeah.
talking to some of the ex-users and moderators who were critical of Reddit, and then they got themselves banned.
Right.
And they talked to TC and to Addy, who wrote the article, and then they started getting death threats for talking to us.
Yeah.
So it's just this. It's
I didn't hear about that last day.
yeah.
That's a new one. But
That's just the last couple.
But
Days.
what we've been talking about in the office and just in general is like, you've got Reddit, the Reddit,
Where the president,
where like the
AMA
president is
on Reddit.
AMAing and they're going on this. Alexis Ohanian went on this bus tour. Who's a great guy and like I think has very like altruistic, great ideas and wants to like make the world a better place. Goes on this like political bus tour, kind of trying to raise political awareness, and I think he really thinks that Reddit can be like a vehicle for raising political awareness and raising issues. They were instrumental in the SOPA stuff. I think they really like showed that the internet can be a force for change. All this like very lofty political stuff, and then it's like, oh, but actually it's like kind of 4chan being run by like 4chan
Well, so I
refugees,
think-
and it's like there's like no one steering the ship. Like there's these two like these very lofty political and social ideals, and then like guys who are like, well,
So
we'll
I don't
just-
think they're different.
Well, I mean,
No, and here's the thing.
there are some differences.
No, there aren't.
I'm wrong.
In
What
this
do I know
truly
about
important
anything?
way, which is Reddit. The thing about Reddit is that they were like, we're democracy, right? And you can do anything here, right? We have some code of conduct, some big set of laws you have to follow. But anything you want to do, we're all about expression and people existing, and Reddit will develop its own norms. And there's like, Reddit has 29 employees and like 82 million users, right? And we're not going to impose this top-down control.
Yeah.
We're going to give the people of Reddit control. We'll turn them into moderators and let them have the control and build their own set of norms. And the overwhelming truth about that is most of those people are dudes. Like, that's just who they are.
Young dudes.
They're young dudes,
Yeah.
right? And they're not checked by society,
Right.
They've been allowed to create their own society and their own vision.
Right.
And so the things that are important to them, important to young dudes, like it's a frat
creep
house.
shots.
It's creep shots.
Yeah.
Right. They built
and
a frat
also
house.
and also those same young dudes. And by the way, I think Reddit has a lot to offer to the world. I don't think this is the entirety of it.
No, but that's what I'm saying.
But you're
It's
saying,
when you build
but
a society.
No, I agree. But
there's the top end. There's the Alexis Ohanian part of it, which is here's the best of our society. Right. Here's what now we have a leader. We're empowered by freedom.
The idea of governments and laws is that you try to impart some overall like mode of operation.
Right.
You try to say like this is what we stand for and what we don't, and you're not going to give every little detail about everything. And I think that like a lot of our political battles in our current government in the real world, are about do we have too many laws or not enough? Like when do we get just right?
Well,
Like,
no, but even
are we over regulating? Are we under regulating? Like that sort of thing. But I think that like in this case, and by the way, one of the actual employees of Reddit, who was it that gave us a statement or made a
Eric
statement?
Martin, right? The general
was it
manager?
Eric? Was he the one who said that we won't tolerate censorship? Is that
So
they
and
did
actually, he said something
say-
really, really interesting. Reddit needs to learn the difference between legitimate journalism and doxing, which is the Reddit slang for outing somebody's identity.
Right.
And but what's funny?
And I think that's a really interesting.
That's a really interesting. You can unpack that lots of ways. The most interesting way to me to unpack it is that Reddit internally developed slang for outing somebody's identity, and they made it a negative community norm. You know why? Because Reddit people do that shit to themselves all the time, right? They're like, we don't like you.
They dox themselves.
We're gonna dox you.
They dox people.
Right. That's why it's the highest.
Well,
law of
doxing
Reddit.
is to me. Doxing, the whole concept of it is like outing outing someone's anonymity is like not something that is a journalistic practice.
Right.
Like you guys should know. Reddit should know. Like the New York Times isn't pounding the pavement to like out people's identities.
These
Like,
guys, I know doxing is a term from Anonymous, but it's a term that's now used on Reddit by its leadership.
The point is the
because
term
it is a problem
the term
that they
doxing.
have.
I think the core of your argument is doxing is not a thing that journalists do as part of their profession. There's no point where we're like, how can we out this guy?
Right.
It's like in the course of a story developing, it may turn out that you have to or need to or want to identify somebody by name. Which is very rare when you're like dealing with. I mean, I think that what Adrian Chen was doing had a very real, serious journalistic component to it. and I think it had a component of tabloid kind of outing of someone. And I think like there's one part that I really can get behind, and there's one part I don't get behind.
Right.
I think the exploration of this
but
person.
I understand it. I understand it completely, because if you are a person, and this is like, again, this is Reddit, in these particularly gross parts of Reddit being run by dudes, it's, you know what the core part of your identity is? It's your face. So if you're running around objectifying women and posting pictures of them that identify them so that other men can like say the worst, nastiest shit about them on the internet, then you lose the ability to say my identity is sacred.
I think you're using anonymity as a shield against repercussions.
Well, so,
right?
yes,
like you don't want people to know you're doing bad things, so you're anonymous. That's why anonymous is like really great and really awful.
Well,
and
so
you have to find like a balance there.
This is just growing up for Reddit, and this will, I mean, well, I think this is a bit of a non-story, although you guys are revealing some good stuff, but
thank you, Paul.
Is that this will self-adjust. Like, Dig used to be the big thing, and then Dig started to look like it was a little too controlled top-down.
Right.
So let's go to Reddit where we have real freedom, right? I think some of the dangers with Reddit, and I
can you talk into the mic?
I didn't really like what happened with like SOPA and Pippa was some of the stuff.
You supported SOPA. You're a SOPA supporter.
I didn't like the way that the
internet ganged up on it.
The internet ganged up in a way that was it was a mob mentality.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think Reddit has a tendency towards mob mentality, and I think Reddit is.
But there can be good mobs.
There can.
I mean, there are people. There are protests, but there are protests and angry people in a group
mob deep
for a reason. Yes, mob deep. but for a reason that is like actually useful.
Well, and that's what I was saying. It's just like there can be a good mob, but the same sort of. But there can be bad mobs.
And they're usually bad.
Right. And so you need to be aware that you're at a place where mobs can form, and sometimes those mobs won't be good.
Right.
And I think and then this is just, I mean, here's the thing. If you have a unique handle that you use consistently, you have an identity.
Yeah.
And you're an idiot if you think nobody can find you. Right. That's why people are anonymous on 4chan.
If you want to be anonymous, here's the thing about this guy.
If you want to be anonymous,
if you want to be anonymous, be anonymous. There was a way for him to post whatever he wanted with no connection to his, unless you like are literally hacking, which is which would be essentially illegal, which Adrian did not do. He just went and found this guy's information, which is available, and as part of a story. But I think it's like the core of this was the Gawker article right? Was it wrong? That's not the question.
Right.
The question is, can Reddit moderators be trusted to know the difference between something like journalism and doxing?
Right.
And it sounds like at this point they can't, which is a huge problem for Reddit as a community. Because as Reddit grows up and people think about Reddit as a thing, a real thing, not just like a 4chan 2.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, let me just. I mean, the comparisons for me. These comparisons are so like obvious is the wrong word. They're blindingly clear. It's Reddit built itself a government, and they built itself a government with like 14-year-olds in charge, right? And the 14-year-olds don't know the difference between journalism and doxing. And even if you're a 50-year-old and you're somehow given, if you took a random person off the streets of New York and said, you're a federal judge, here's 20 obscenity cases for you to decide, we wouldn't be confident about their ability to do it in a consistent or meaningful way, right? Because that's not how we do that at all. And it's the thing to me about Reddit is when you build a community of like people who love juvenile behavior, right? Where the highest thing is to like make somebody laugh with a GIF. It's like what you have built is a frat house. And like over and over and over again, like we are like, wow, what happens in frat houses is gross.
Not good.
Right? Yes. And if we expose
alcohol poisoning,
if you open it,
rape,
the word butt chugging has been in the news lately,
I don't know.
Right?
I don't know. I do know what that is.
Right?
Yes. Yeah.
That's
I love that.
Fraternity behavior.
I'm so happy that I don't know what that is.
Well, I think you could guess, but you could guess, right?
I'm not even going to try to guess.
I mean, you could just envision what it might be.
But what's funny is that when you take the frat bros out of the frat house and you like integrate them into society,
Frat house is lame.
they stop doing those things because they're surrounded by norms that are meaningful.
It turns out that, well, here's the thing. Anonymity, and Laura and I have had a lot of talks about this, and we've collectively as a site had a lot of talks about anonymity online.
Because we have a community that we have to like moderate.
Right. And
it's the same thing
And I
for
actually
us.
think anonymity is very important. I think there are many reasons, legitimate, important reasons why anonymity should exist. You know, I am completely at odds with Facebook's belief that, you know, you have one true identity and that is your identity on the internet and off the internet. Like, I don't think that's true. There are, you know, in small ways and in big ways, we are anonymous or different people all the time. And I think that it's really important on the internet for anonymity to exist. I think that it's also really important to identify when anonymity is being used as a destructive, negative force. When it's being used to do bad stuff. Like, bad things exist. Like, we don't live in a world where, I mean, we have all agreed.
But we don't have a right to anonymity to murder people.
No, exactly. Like you're not like, well, I got away with murder because nobody knew who committed the murder. Like, you still committed a murder.
I have a right to anonymity, so you can't find out
Right, you
who
can't
I
come
am.
and find me. Like, you can't. You're not allowed to use
cops are
You're not allowed to use my hair
cops
at
keep
the
on trying to
scene of the
dox
crime.
me.
Yeah, the cops keep trying to identify me through the hair at the scene of the crime using my DNA. How dare they? Like, no, that doesn't work. Like, you murdered somebody, you're gonna. So we've decided as a society, and you know, whether you like it or not. You know, there are rules in the society. Like,
and we
murder
also
is
have
illegal.
We have
Stealing is
decided
illegal.
as a society that if you write a diatribe that supports Marxism, that based on your DNA that you left on that piece of paper that you handing out in pamphlets around town, we're not going to try to find you. You know?
Wait,
that's
what?
right. No, I think that's a great point.
My pamphlet finding DNA lab will have to shut down.
If there's a strand of your hair on your Marxist manifesto, no one's going to come and like break down your door. Like, that's actually one of the great things about, at least you know, in America.
To Nilay's point, Reddit made its own government. It's not governed by a bulletproof constitution.
Right.
It's governed by 14-year-old.
It doesn't
boys,
have a constitution,
and they can do whatever they want. They can out each other. They can avoid outing each other.
It doesn't
and
have
they
a constitution.
And Reddit moderators, they do have this freedom to make Reddit horrible, and then someone will start another site, and they'll go to that site. Everybody will go to 9gag.
I think that's right. They'll go to 9gag, and you know what? Have fun at 9gag. But like, if you believe that that a type of site like Reddit can be a force for like funny things and fascinating things and amazing conversations
and good political movements.
and political movements either way,
then you have
whether
to make
you
the
like
site that
or not. Then someone has to say like,
no.
You know
I'm saying the users of that site have to make it that way.
But the users can't make it that way themselves.
Yeah, they can.
I mean, they can try, but typically, laws aren't. But laws aren't invented by mobs. Laws are not come up with and fine-tuned by mobs.
Right, but
they
at least
are like movements are social movements are can be moved one way or another by mobs, but like lawmakers make laws.
Sure, but at least so far, Reddit has done well with this lawless thing, and it's trended up, and it's trended pretty awesome.
Well, I mean, if doing well is if you mean like has it got grown in traffic and size and in prominence on the internet?
Yes. The Sopa Pippa thing and whatever, and the gifts are funny.
But I mean, the Mexican drug cartels are making the Mexican drug cartels are making a lot of money doing what they're doing.
Right.
They've grown in size and power, but it doesn't necessarily mean that like all the stuff they're doing is really awesome. You know, like.
Well, so
we have to figure out like, are they the Mexican drug cartel or are they the U.S. government?
And if you're a Reddit employee, you've got this really scary job of do we make some rules and try to fix this and risk losing the magic of Reddit and people go to 9gag.
Right. Well, the question is not just do we make rules. The question is what are the rules and how are they going to be enforced? Like, I think you can make broad rules. I mean, they have this one about anonymity, about saying we don't tolerate people exposing Reddit users on Reddit.
Right.
Okay. I think that's actually a fine rule. How do you enforce it? Do you enforce it by censoring an entire site? No, I think you need to have another rule that says we also don't censor things unless like there's got to be some kind of, you know, illegal, you know, or, you know, criminal.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to think of like what they would be. I don't know because I'm not making the rules for Reddit. But I do think that someone at Reddit should say, you have to at some point say, is Reddit going to be important? If it's going to be important, what are there constraints that we put on users, or do we say like we want you guys to act in this fashion towards one another or towards the world?
Right.
Like,
did we build a democracy or did we build Lord of the Flies? I mean, that's like
Right,
kind of the
because it's
the
Lord of the
question.
Flies right now.
Yeah.
And that works okay. It's okay when it's just GIFs. If it's anything more serious than a GIF or like an AMA,
Right.
Lord of the Flies breaks down pretty quickly.
God, these people really want us to talk about the HTC Butterfly.
Well, and you know
What
the
is the
nice
butterfly?
thing.
It's a phone that came out in Japan. It's literally called the HTC J
Oh, the
Butterfly.
J,
The J Butterfly.
The
That's
J
what it's called.
Butterfly.
I'm not.
I don't want to talk about. I mean,
It's an Android phone.
I don't want to talk about an Android
The
phone.
Galaxy Premier.
We can talk about an Android phone any day of the week. We're
Is it
talking about
J-dash
important
butterfly?
religious, political. We're in the midst of, and we have to wrap up because
Right.
Yeah.
we're
This
late.
guy.
See, look at that.
Like-
See,
Watch, bro.
You were talking about, well, let's see what time it is, and then you looked at your watch, and then you knew what time it was.
Hey.
That's
Ross
sort of
Miller
the-
is in here, and that's our son.
Ross
that we
is
have
going to
to
remind me to talk about some stuff,
Okay.
right?
We're gonna wrap.
Is that-
it.
was
Eli's
that
gonna
what
talk
we
about
were
this
gonna
talk about
first.
something?
Go ahead,
Staring-
Eli.
Well,
What?
I mean, I want to make sure I do it. Okay, I've got Michael and Ross just staring at me like I'm going to do something wrong.
Just tell it to us
Arms
straight.
crossed.
Are you just saying wrap up? Is that all you heard?
He's got
I
it.
am. Look, we're hiring. That's what we're going to talk about.
Oh.
So we are hiring a video editor. Are you both happy? We're hiring a video editor. There's go to verge.com/jobs. We're hiring a video editor. We're hiring a writer on the West Coast. We're going to actually have some other listings
What is
soon.
it? Why are
We're
we
hiring
showing?
a Nilay.
That's our,
that's
that's
our
our
video
That's our
reel.
reel. We're
Yeah.
hiring. We're replacing me.
We're hiring a body double.
We're hiring
We're not
West
replacing
Coast-
Nilay. We're hiring a body double.
Look,
for
I'm
the,
going-
for the nude
West
scenes
Coast
that Nilay doesn't want to do
Professional
himself.
West Coast news writers.
Yeah, I'm going
potentially.
deep undercover on Reddit.
And we have and frankly, you know, if you're a professional East Coast news writer that you
Yeah.
want to throw your hat in the ring, we're all ears. And we've got other jobs that we're going to talk about that are important roles that we're going to be hiring for in the very near future.
Yeah.
That I think you guys you'll be very interested in.
Yeah.
Not you guys necessarily in the chat room,
The world.
but you guys in the world.
Yeah.
So if you're in the chat room, you're definitely not getting a job. So that's what you're saying.
Well, I mean, if we can trace your actual identity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you're totally anonymous in the chat room, but we
Yeah.
are logging all of your IPs,
Yeah.
and we will be we'll be coming to your house.
Right.
All right,
We
that's,
should
that's
hire somebody that's anonymous and pay them through whatchamacallit.
through
Dwala.
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
pay with
All right, well,
Bitcoin.
that's the Vergecast for this week.
We're gonna pay you in
if you'd like to
Bitcoin.
get in touch with us, you can contact
It's
us.
gonna be illegal for
you can
some
contact
tax
us at
reasons.
vergecast@theverge.com. You can leave a comment on the post when it goes up, or you can find us on Twitter. The Verge is at Verge. I'm Joshua Topolsky. Nilay is Reckless. Paul is Future Paul. You can also reach Paul at his P.O. box.
Yeah, New York, 10227.
You
Oh,
didn't say
PO
the
Box
number.
501.
Yeah.
New York, 10276.
And
Or if you're just like wandering around in Union Square, I might.
Paul will be
sometimes
there.
I'm
we
in
have
Union
a
Square
we
too.
have a we
Take
have,
a creep shot of Paul.
Yeah,
that's what he's saying.
Paul doesn't mind if you creep shot him, and in fact he rather enjoys it. We have an On the Verge Halloween edition, October 30th,
Yeah.
Manhattan, New York,
Manhattan.
New York, New York
Yeah.
State.
Costumes, right?
Costume. What are we doing?
I don't know.
Costumes. Come in costume.
Yeah.
Get something special from us. And I want to see great costumes. Don't half-ass this. I'm counting on you.
Because I'm not going to wear one.
And we have, can I talk about who we have? Crowley? You know about Crowley? We have Dennis Crowley. Dennis Crowley, founder of Foursquare, will be on the show. Anything else? We got some Polygon stuff.
Yeah.
We're going to pay about some Polygon, very exciting Polygon stuff.
Polygon. Have we made the show?
Polygon.
Polygon.
Yes, many times.
Okay.
It's all over the internet, Paul.
Oh yeah, I did some awesome segments.
And no big deal, guys. But my birthday is tomorrow. So if you want to send me gold jewelry,
I don't.
Can I say what my segments are? No.
No.
Which one? Oh, I went to Maker Faire, but I also went somewhere else.
Where? Don't tell me. Where'd you go? Don't tell me. Where'd you go? Don't tell me. Okay, that's our Vergecast for the week. We'll be back next week. Oh God, next week is going to be crazy.
Yeah, next week is
This
nuts.
time next week, we will know if an iPad Mini exists.
Yeah.
Are you excited? Don't answer that. Don't tell me.
Yeah.
All right, and what? Oh yeah, and we'll be live casting after the Apple event. We will be
Yeah.
live and direct, and probably after the Google event as well.
The colors you think the iPad will be right now.
Yeah, now's your chance.
And
Take our poll.
Mail them in an envelope.
Take our poll on theverge.com. Anyhow, that's our show, and
Send
as
me
always,
like
we
a Pantone color chip.
As always, I'm sure there's nothing to fear in your home this weekend.
Rock and roll, man.
Paul.
Rock and roll.